Hey, it's Bree here.
And Alan with the Hunter and the Hippie. Here we are, episode. I
You,
don't
the
even know.
numbers, do not say a number. You don't know what number
I'm
it
not
is.
gonna say a number.
I think it's
Uh,
32, but
30, maybe.
but
Brit-
Alan shares with us his 4x4x48 that he just completed and with a little twist. Um,
if you don't know what it is, tune in, keep listening. You get to find out.
And then from there, we talked a lot about kind of that commitment that goes towards training, but also other things in life and how we sometimes just want that quick fix. And then we finish up with why it's important to be in touch with the why behind what you're doing, as well as just yourself. And we talk about metrics and data and where they fall short in comparison to what you can gather from your own experiences with your body, with yourself.
For sure. And lastly, we'd like to give a shout out before the episode starts to Brianna Cote for all of our photography and image needs, as well as Allison Band for our Hunter and the Hippie music. And with that, we shall get on with the episode. Good morning, Brie.
Good morning.
So good to see you. I
Well,
feel like it's been forever.
I know. Well, it has been quite a while,
Yes, it has.
probably a month or so.
Yeah.
And you have a lot.
Yeah.
Well,
A lot's happened.
a lot has happened.
All sorts of fun things. Do we want to start with some breathing though? Or?
No.
No. All right, let's just dive right in. Let's just dive right in.
No.
Everyone hold your breath.
Yeah. Things might get intense. We'll insert some breathing. And,
I love it.
all right. Tell me about 4x4x48.
Oh my gosh.
Did I say enough fours? Not.
Yeah. 4x4x48 by 45 is what I did. I added a 45-pound weight on my back.
Yes. Why not a 48-pound weight?
What I see, and I'm smacking myself now. Freaking future Alan is a pain in my ass because I said before the first leg, I was like, I should really make it 48 pounds.
It would just sound cooler.
Right. 4x4 by 48 by 48, right? Like,
yeah.
It would be perfect. But I didn't do that. Now I'm going to have to do it again next year.
But you didn't
pounds.
even do 4x4. You did 4x4.5?
4x4.5. Yep.
Yeah.
By 54.
54 hours? No.
Oh, well,
hours.
no, yeah, 48 hours. Yeah.
Come on.
4 by 4
Numbers.
and a half.
Stop.
Numbers. Not my friends who I did the 4x4 by 48 with, they got to see my math in action during the walking.
Nice.
It's awful. I shouldn't do math. I shouldn't be in charge of numbers.
Yeah.
So for those that don't know, I did the 4x4 by 48 challenge. It's I think you said something that like this is something like ultra runners do.
Yeah.
Like in preparation for ultras.
They'll do it for 100 as a way to like practice running through the night and running tired and all that.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah. So it's, for those that don't know what it is, it's 4 miles every 4 hours for 48 hours straight. And I've said this to multiple people and people still don't get it, right? So I'm going to say it again. It's 4 miles every 4 hours. That means 4 hours goes by, you go and do another 4 miles. It doesn't matter if it's 1 in the morning. Doesn't matter if it's 5 in the morning. Doesn't matter if it's 9 at night, 2 in the afternoon. Doesn't matter what time it is, right? Whenever you start your first leg, that's when it dictates, right? Every 4 hours from that point. And a lot of people I told like didn't understand that for some reason. Mm. So I've had to like break it down. They're like, oh, you're getting up at like 1 in the morning? I'm like, yes. So 4 miles every 4 hours for 48 hours. And because I'm extra, I had to add on an extra half a mile. And I can get into that later.
Okay.
And I will get into that later, why I did that. But yeah, so it's again, right, it's something that ultra runners do, right? So you're supposed to run it technically. I didn't run it. I'm not currently a runner, nor do I really ever. I've never enjoyed running. I ran for a bit, but it's not necessarily my thing. But David Goggins, if you don't know who David Goggins is, he's a retired Navy SEAL. He has a book out, Can't Hurt Me, amazing book. People who follow him, it's almost like a religion, right? Like, would you say that? Like it's like almost like a cult-ish following.
Yeah.
And he like took ownership of it, of the 4x4x48 challenge, right? And sort of like made it his thing. And he's been doing it for like the last 3 years. And, you know, he's challenged all of his followers to attempt this feat. And tons of people do it every year. And this year he even had multiple legs where he actually met up with people doing it.
Oh, cool.
In multiple cities around California.
Is it the same time of the year that people do it or no? Do they just do it? Oh. Yeah,
so it's March. It's the March time for like this same time every year.
Oh, okay.
That he does it. So he's like really made it his own thing.
Okay.
Even though it's like, I didn't know, right, because I'm not an ultra runner, but I didn't know it was like a thing in the ultra community. I thought it was just something he literally made up, but again, right? Like
he might have. I mean, he might have made it up. I never heard about it. I heard about it from my friend who was training, and he was like, "Yeah, it's just the best. It's a really good way to get night
sleep
running.
Deprivation.
Yeah, just know how to run during the night, run tired.
Sleep deprivation is a real fucking thing.
Yeah.
Wow. All of the episodes where Brie talks about sleep and how important it is.
And you laughed at my face. No,
she is right. This is my one time I'll say it. She is right. Sleep is so important. And this challenge like really shows it. Like even in just like the littlest ways. And we'll get into that a bit more. But this year is the year of suffering for me. The year of suffering and happiness. And finding the happiness in suffering. And I forget how exactly it came up that I was going to do it, but I saw it and was like, I should do that. Like, that sounds miserable, and I should do that. And so I recruited my buddy and was like, we're doing this. And it took a little coercing to get him to do it, but he eventually committed. He was like, I want the t-shirt. So there's a t-shirt that Goggins puts out. He was like, I want the t-shirt. I was like, hey, whatever you need to get the yes, right? Like, if you want the t-shirt, by all means, let's get the t-shirt. And so we planned. That's the key, is like, I'm not necessarily like a big planner, but I am a planner in the sense of like, I want to plan for failure. And so before we even did it, I was like, what is going to be your hindrance? What is going to be the biggest hurdle that you're going to have to overcome when shit gets real, shit gets tough? You know, what's going to be the thing that I'm going to have to deal with to get you back out doing this? Mm-hmm. And so like we were very real with each other, like about the things that were going to get in our way. Right. And what's great about that.
What was yours?
So the main one is hanger. Right. So like being hangry. Like, okay. And like when I'm hangry, I stop functioning. And like I turn into like I am the quintessential Snickers commercial. Yeah. Right? Like I turn into like the biggest diva. And what's interesting is like years of knowing this, like I still don't know when I'm hangry. Mm. And like it's not until I like eat, I'm like, oh, I really needed that. Okay. So like that's like the main one. And it doesn't seem like a big deal, but when you're doing this, especially like this over this duration, what you're eating becomes really important. Mm-hmm. And we saw that, right? Like it got to the point where all I wanted was donuts, and that's what I needed. Mm-hmm. Right? Like I ate like 4 or 5 donuts in one sitting. Yeah. And it was exactly what I needed. And the next leg I felt amazing. And like the initial thought was like, right, it's not just about eating, but it's about what you're eating, like what your body is needing. Mm-hmm. We've talked about like Courtney DeWalter and like what she's an ultra runner, and like what she eats. She's eating like nachos and like all the garbage. And I get it now. Like it makes sense. Like your body just craves glycogen in that, right? For me in that moment, like we had all sorts of meat and bacon and elk and all sorts of good stuff. And I was just like, I want donuts.
Yeah.
Like my body just needs something quick. It needs glycogen, and that really is what helped. I believe I helped that, and sleep I think helped quite a bit in those moments when I needed it. But yeah, so hanger was the big one. The other big one was for me was not picking up the 45-pound weight. Like I didn't have a problem about like doing the walk, but like I knew I was gonna have excuses about the weight.
Yeah.
And
did that end up showing up? So the things that you thought would be hindrances or stand in your way, were those in fact what did stand in your way, or were there things that surprised you that were more challenging than the things you had planned for?
So I was absolutely surprised that I didn't have any challenges that totally put me out.
Yeah.
Like, I'm not saying I didn't have any challenges, right? Like there was nothing that was going to make me quit.
Yeah.
Right. That's the key. And like, I didn't experience like I was hungry, but like I wasn't to the point where I was hangry. Right. Like there were, every time I looked at that pack, I did not want to pick it up, but I did.
Yeah.
Right. So, and it was never like I had to rely on my friends to make me do the thing.
Mm-hmm.
Right. Which was surprising. Like
yeah.
I'm really shocked. Like I absolutely thought, but that's good. Like I planned to fail, and I had a plan to handle the failure when I did, and it never came up.
Yeah.
Right. So like I would rather have that plan and not need it.
Yeah.
Right. And for my buddy, right, like his came up, and his came up way sooner than I expected. Right.
Yeah.
So his was just wanting to quit. And leg 3, right? Only 3, 8 miles in. 3, leg 2, we went to sleep, and we got up. We had protein shakes on leg 2, like when we got done with leg 2. So we had a protein shake, and we came back, we downed the protein shake, and went right to bed. And so leg 3, when we woke up, I guess like he just didn't digest good enough. Yeah. And was just sitting. Yeah,
I was like, that sounds awful.
Yeah, it was just like sitting
like
there.
Have a milkshake, and like all that liquid in your belly, and just like go to bed
at 3 a.m.
Yeah.
Right, like at 2 a.m. Yeah. So, and
did he do the same? Did he do the same weight as you? Like, was his identical to yours, or was it different? Okay.
He started with the 45 pounds.
Okay.
And then eventually dropped it.
Okay.
And he started with doing half a mile extra.
Okay. Yeah.
And then dropped that too.
Okay. Okay.
But he never also fully committed to
the additional
right? Like
stuff. Yeah.
Right. Yeah. So he woke up, he came down the stairs, and like I saw him coming down the stairs. I was like, holy shit, he's as white as a ghost.
Oh.
And I'm like, I can't tell him he's white as a ghost, because like I need to make him feel like he's feeling better.
Yeah.
Right. Like, but he looked like crap.
Yeah.
And he was like, I'm not doing this leg. And I was like, and again, I wasn't ready. It was funny because like I was prepared for this, but I wasn't prepared for it to be at leg 3.
Yeah.
Right. Like I didn't expect it to happen so soon. And I was just like, fuck. And like, I'm just sitting on the couch. We're like sitting on the couch, and like, he's like nauseous, and he's like, I'm not doing this leg. And he wasn't going to quit the challenge. He just wasn't doing that leg.
Yeah.
But that, to me, that still was unacceptable. And I was like, you're doing it. I was like, I'll wait. I was like, we'll wait as long as we need to. I was like, we have 4 hours to get this done. I was like, whatever time we need to wait. I was like, you could throw up on the walk. I don't care. Like, you're doing this. And then I brought up, I was like, we planned for this. And I brought up, I was like, you told me your weakness. You told me you're going to want to quit. I was like, your excuse is valid. I'm not pushing aside how you feel.
Yeah.
Right? Like, I'm not saying you're not nauseous. I'm not saying you don't feel like crap, but you're still going to do this. Mm-hmm. And thankfully he had the will, and he mustered up the energy, and he did it.
Yeah.
And crazy enough, that was really the only challenge that all of us had. After that, I mean, we were all up and, and ready to go, and or sort of ready to go, as ready as we would ever be to go for each leg. But it was something else. Like leg one, it was just like a walk, right? Because it was 9:00 at night. We started at 9:00 at night. We started when Goggins started. And so we started at 9:00 at night on Friday night, and it was just like a 4-mile walk because, right? And then we got back to the house and went to bed. But then the alarm goes off at 1 a.m.
Yeah.
Or like a few minutes before. And we get up and we, it's 1 a.m. It's still more of just like a nuisance than anything at this point. Because, right, like we've only done one 4-mile walk and all of us are fit. Right. So it's really not a problem at this point. So we did that. We had the protein shakes, and then the 5 a.m. comes around. That's when he wakes up, and it's a problem. And we probably didn't get out there until like 5:30, 5:45, something like that. And it's still, right, at this point, it still wasn't a problem. And what's really funny is, right, we've only slept maybe 4 hours, maybe, right? So, like, we're almost done with the walk. Probably have like a mile left of the walk. And so we're all walking it. None of us are running it. We're all walking it. And his wife joined us. Sorry, I didn't say this. His wife, Megan, joined us.
Okay.
And so she had no weight. He had weight initially. I had the weight the whole time. And then we were probably like a mile left on the 5 a.m. and we're like, bacon. Yeah. Right? Like, and so it got to the, right, like we get back to the house and like coffee and bacon and like we're eating like breakfast and like we're up, like the sun has risen. And then we sort of go about our day, and I don't know if this was part of the problem maybe later on, but we sort of go about our day like it was just a regular day, where we got up, we went to a farmer's market to get other food, right? So we're now, what is that? 3 legs in, 4, 8, 12, right? We're 12 miles in, and I'm now, right, 13 and a half miles in. So we go to the farmer's market, we get food, and then we go and we do the next leg, and we do it near this like IV drip place, so we could all get IVs after. So we do leg 4, and then we all get IVs, and then yeah, and so like so far it's like easy, like we're feeling it a little bit, we're a little tired. And we then go back to the house for the next leg. And so this is where like, right, like I think we all took like a little nap. We ate, we did an ice bath, which was super helpful, I think. The ice bath was really nice. Like that, on that next leg, all of us were like, we had so much energy, we're feeling amazing. And so my friend's kid was having a birthday party that day. And so I have friends in Phoenix. And so we did the walk. We did the 4 miles, and then I left. So I'm still not sleeping, right? Like I'm not sleeping in between these daytime legs.
Yeah.
Which I think hurt us in the long run, right?
Yeah.
Probably. I think my friends took a nap, but I didn't sleep. And sleep's fucking important. God, sleep is so important. So I go to my friends, right? We celebrate my friend's kid's birthday. I go for a walk. So now we're separate, right? We like FaceTime each other.
Yeah.
Me and my friends. They're doing their walk together. I'm doing my walk alone. And right, we do our walk. I hang out with my friends for a little bit. I go back to my buddy's house afterwards. And then we have dinner. So now we're getting ready for that last 9 p.m. leg. Right? And so it's Saturday at 9 p.m. We eat dinner. We go do our 45 minutes. And we get back to the house. And we like, all right, bed.
Wait, it only takes you 45 minutes?
No, did I say 45 minutes?
Yeah.
No, it was taking like an hour and 20 minutes.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, each walk was like an hour and 20 minutes.
I was like, you guys
Sorry,
are really
45
fast walkers.
Sorry. So
I was like,
I,
10-minute miles with 45-pound weight. I was like, dang, I gotta get on your routine.
That'd be a lot. Yeah, I might have been thinking about 75 hard when I said that. I don't know why. So yeah, it took like an hour and 20. Each walk took like hour and 20 minutes.
Okay.
So that left us roughly 2 hours to sleep, roughly, right? Like if we could get in and back in bed, right? Like 9 p.m. on that 9 p.m. leg, I like got back to the house, I took a shower, did all the things, then got in bed. So I had about 2 hours of sleep.
Mm-hmm.
And that 1 a.m. alarm went off. And I thought it was over.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I woke up and I have never felt the way that I felt at that point.
Yeah.
And the mental exhaustion, the physical exhaustion, the physical pain, the mental pain, all of it.
Mm-hmm.
And just like come crashing down at this point.
Mm-hmm.
And it was crazy. And we started noticing it on the 9 p.m. leg. We're like walking, and my buddy kept saying, "This is the 1 a.m. leg."
Yeah.
And I'm like, "No, it's the 9 p.m. leg." But he kept saying it.
Yeah.
And he was like, "This is the 1 a.m. leg. This is the 1 a.m." And I'm like, "No, it's the 9 p.m. leg." So like you start seeing like things start creeping in
mm-hmm.
of like all of us, like little things here and there of just like that sheer exhaustion is just starting to kick in. And you could definitely tell like a bunch of friends are texting me, like my friends knew I was doing it, a bunch of friends are texting me, and like I started becoming like incapable of responding.
Yeah.
Like I would get a message and I would look at my phone and I would just stare at the message.
Mm-hmm.
And it's just these little things, like your mental clarity just goes to shit.
Mm-hmm.
And like brain power just goes to shit. And you're just like, huh? I remember looking at my phone and looking at a message my friend sent and just thinking, like I couldn't even process what the message said.
Yeah.
And so I have a friend, backtrack a little bit, I have a friend who did this challenge last year. And he tried convincing me, he tried talking me out of it. He was like, "You're stupid, you're an idiot." But then he fully supported me, right?
Yeah.
He's like, "You're an idiot." He's like, "But how can I help?" And he was texting me throughout each leg.
Mm-hmm.
And so the 9 p.m. leg happened. I went to sleep and he texted me. He texted me at like 11:30 at night. I didn't get the message until I woke up for the 1 a.m. leg. But he texted me knowing that this was going to be the hardest leg because he did it. And huge shout out to my friend Josh Janis. But he texted me and I think this was like the big thing that got me out and to do it was, he said something along the lines of, "Here it is. This is it. If you can find peace here, you can find peace anywhere." And like that rang so true because it was pure chaos. Mm-hmm. I woke up and I don't even know if I can find the words to describe it. Like I've never felt like that. Mm-hmm. And I'm pretty sure I was hallucinating on the walk. I'm pretty sure I kept seeing people like walking across the street. It's 1 a.m. We're walking around in neighborhoods. Like no one is out.
Yeah.
And I just keep seeing things like walking by. And, you know, at this point, I'm only on 2 hours of sleep, really, for the entire day. We're at mile, I don't even know what at this point, mile 38 plus for me. Mm-hmm. And so, yeah, it fucking sucked. Mm-hmm. And they came down the stairs and they were hurting. And it was a shit show. And it took every ounce of my being to get like my shoes on and then to pick up the pack. I've been telling everyone this. That present Alan wasn't the one picking up the pack. Mm-hmm. It was future Alan picking up the pack because I know how future Alan is. Like if I didn't pick up the pack for one of those legs,
yeah,
I'd be sitting here right now being like, well, got to do it again next year, right? Yeah. Like you didn't complete it. You didn't do what you said you were going to do. So it was absolutely like I could just hear future me being like, "You little bitch." I can't believe you didn't do that. And yeah, so we got out and we did it. And it was the hardest leg of all of them. And it was miserable. And I wanted every step I wanted it to be over.
Yeah.
And the great thing, we were doing out and backs. We'd just go out 2 miles and come back 2 miles. Like once you go out the 2 miles, like you have no choice but to come back the 2 miles. And so we got back, and I am pretty sure I ate like that's when I ate the 4 donuts.
Nice.
Yeah, I was just like, right, like crumbs everywhere. Like you just lose like all inhibition. You're just like, fuck it, just eating these donuts. And then I went and crashed hard again, and the 5 a.m. alarm went off, which seemed like almost immediately.
Yeah.
But it was then that I knew that I had it.
Yeah.
Because it was so weird how it worked. Like I woke up a different person.
Yeah.
I woke up, I want to say refreshed, but I wasn't refreshed, right? Like I woke up feeling good, feeling like invigorated, feeling like, yes, I got this.
Yeah. Well, it sounds like, sorry to interject, but like,
yeah, please.
When, for my friend who did the 3 250s or 240 250s, he was like, I always try to take my nap right before the sun rises, because once the sun comes up, you have a new kind of like energy about you. Yep. And so it's like that 5 a.m. you potentially, I guess maybe, yeah, like 6 o'clock, the sun might be starting to.
So halfway through our walk, first light was coming up.
Yeah. And it just like, yep. You feel it, because it's so much easier. Right. Not discrediting it, but daytime, like there's,
absolutely.
It's just like there's something that drives you, as opposed to like middle of when it's dark and you're trying to do it. And like, again, it's like, you're going to hallucinate more in the dark because your mind's crazy. Your eyes are like, what's going on? But yeah. So when you said that, I was like, it makes sense just from what I've heard with other stuff of like that, the morning time and just the nature of humans and circadian rhythms. And yeah.
And I thought of all that. And we even kept saying, I can't wait to see the sun. I can't wait to see the sun. Right. Like the sun didn't make it end any quicker.
Yeah.
But just right, having the sun on your skin, right, feeling the sun, feeling that there's absolutely something to it. And I read something recently, I forget, it was an article, but about circadian rhythms. And like at 1 a.m., you should not be walking around with 4 to 5 pounds on your back.
Yeah.
Right. Like, so it's your body, right? It's your mind, it's your nervous system telling you like, what the fuck are you doing? Whereas at 5, that's when things are starting to change in your body. And so it was very noticeable. And I think the sleep had to help, right? At that point right now, like it was about 4 hours of sleep. And I think that helped, along with, I think, the donuts. I seriously think I was calling the donuts a superfood.
Yeah.
I was like, yep, my superfood. And right, jokingly, they're not a superfood, but I think my body just was done processing hard, heavy stuff, right? I think it was just like, just give me the glycogen, give me the quick, easily processed shit that I can fuel the body with. And I think that helped. And the sun started coming up and we got back to the house. We didn't go to sleep. We like, again, had breakfast. Like we're awake, like we had breakfast. And then after breakfast, like I think we all laid back down, but probably only slept like an hour. And then from that point on, it was a grind. Don't get me right. Like none of this was easy. The first walk was easy.
Yeah.
Right. That was the easiest part because it was just like a normal 4-mile walk.
Yeah.
Outside of that, none of this was easy. And it was a fucking grind. Like you just had to get up. You just had to put one foot in front of the other. And that's all it was. No matter what the excuse was, no matter how bad you felt. I was walking like a gunslinger by like the last like 3 or 4 legs. Like my hips were not moving.
Was so your pace, did your pace slow down? Like were your last legs slower than your?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah. Cause like I was no longer striking heel to toe. Like it was just.
I think about that. I'm like, I never strike heel to toe.
I
was like, oh, that sounds awful.
But yeah, it was a grind.
Yeah.
And even the last leg, and so I did a half a mile at the end of every leg.
Yeah.
And when my buddy decided to stop doing, because he started doing the half a miles, but when he decided to stop doing them, before, right, I was trying to still convince him to do them, and I got him to do one extra one. And what I said to him was, at the end of every 4 miles, and this is true, this is still true, this was true even on the 12th leg.
Mm-hmm.
At the end of every 4 miles, that half a mile was the easiest half a mile I've ever done.
Mm.
Right? I was fully committed to it. I was in it. I was in the moment. No matter how I felt at the end of that 4 miles, even on that 1 a.m. leg,
mm-hmm.
that end of that 4 miles, I was like, fuck. And that's half a mile, I still had a pep in my step. I was like, fuck yeah, I'm going to get it.
Yeah.
Right? So it was really weird. It was really weird, just like how I felt about that half a mile.
Mm-hmm.
And he did another one, and then he fell off on the next one, which is fine again, right? Like he's still, right? It's still a fucking amazing task to do what we did.
Mm-hmm.
And so I added the half a mile for a few reasons. So Go Ruck is a company that they do like rucksacks, and that's the plate carrier that I have on my back that
Mm-hmm.
has the 45 pounds. They have those little patches, those like Velcro patches.
Mm-hmm.
They have a custom one it was for Black History Month,
Mm-hmm.
and it was a Martin Luther King one, and it was a 54-mile badge because the Selma March was 54 miles.
Mm-hmm.
And so when I saw that, and I knew I was doing the 4x4x48, I was like, oh, 54, that's only 6 miles away, because Alan can do math. And I was like, oh, if you, right, like 6 miles, if I just divide that by 12, that's only half a mile a leg.
Yeah.
Right? So if I just do half a mile a leg, I'll be at the 54, and I can get this cool patch.
Yeah.
And then it started to hit me, like, that was like the initial like reason, like, oh, that's cool, like I could do that. But then it started to hit me like, oh, this is really fucking cool.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Like, so David Goggins has this statement. He talks about, right? He says it's cool, it's easy. I don't know exactly what he says, but he says, like, it's cool, it's easy to be uncommon amongst common people.
Mm-hmm.
Right? So anyone who does the 4x4x48 is uncommon amongst anyone else, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like, how many people do you know are doing this challenge? So it's really easy to be uncommon amongst common people.
Mm-hmm.
But then he says that he strives to be uncommon amongst uncommon people.
Mm-hmm.
And so I took that to heart. I was like, fuck yeah, like anyone who's doing this 4x4x48 is uncommon. But if I go a half a mile extra, just half a mile extra on every leg,
mm-hmm.
that puts me 6 miles ahead of everyone else that did this.
Mm-hmm.
Right? And that, like, he has this concept called taking souls, right? And in my mind, that was like the taking souls. Like at the end of 48 miles, no one wants to walk another 6 miles.
Mm-hmm.
And that's like the other thing that really fueled me to do this was, at the end of 48 miles, if I said to you, hey, Bree, you did it, congratulations, now go do another 6 more,
mm-hmm.
right? You'd probably be like, no, I'm good, right? Or most people, right, are going to be like, not happening. And even me in that moment, at the end of like 12, if I was like, all right, 6 more miles,
mm-hmm.
I would be like, not happening. But instead, all I did was half a mile. That's it.
Mm-hmm.
Quarter mile out, quarter mile back at the end of every 4 miles. And it put me 6 miles ahead of myself and everyone else that wanted to do this. And what I related to is, like, we all want, right? We all think that in life we have to take these massive actions to do these incredible things.
Mm-hmm.
And in my mind, that's when I saw, like, no, you just half a mile at a time.
Yeah.
right? You just gotta take the next step. You just gotta go forward a little bit more. And that's right. And initially, right, it's only a half a mile. It only puts you that much further ahead. But then when you're done with it, you're 6 miles ahead of everyone, which felt amazing. So yeah, it was an incredible experience. You had mentioned your Whoop strap. I want to hear your Whoop story before we started talking. But I wish I had my Whoop strap. Like, I haven't worn the Whoop strap in quite some time. But I think the sleep information that Whoop provides would have been really interesting, especially during that 1 a.m. leg.
Yeah.
And like seeing like what my heart rate variability was. It would be really interesting to like have like all sorts of tracking during that challenge.
Mm-hmm.
Like I imagine like being like in a lab, like hooked up to all sorts of equipment.
Yeah.
Just seeing like what your body's going through.
Mm-hmm.
Because your body has to be going through hell, essentially.
Yeah. I think though, like, I wonder, I mean, it's pretty, what's happening, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I almost I would find it more interesting if you were to say I don't know if there were like comparative information, whether that's with someone who doing it year after year and seeing if it changes, or not training for it and training for it and how that changes, because you're you're in the red, you're broken down, that's
right.
I think actually for the recovery afterwards would be the most interesting, is how many days does it take you to come back from something like that? Yeah, only because it's obvious what's happening during that 48-hour period. But what would you say if you could put into one bite-size sentence or statement, well, one, do you feel like it changed you in any way? And if so, how? What are you taking away that you didn't have before you did the challenge? If anything.
I don't know that it changed me per se. What the big things that I took away, I'd say there's probably 3 things that maybe I took away from it. And I sort of knew this one, right? And I struggle with this one constantly, right? That's why I am who I am. And I think we all struggle with this one, is that we can do hard things, right? I think that's the biggest thing, is we're so quick to give up. We're so quick to have excuses. And again, it's not that I'm invalidating any excuses of anyone or feel, right? How you feel is important, but you can also do hard things. And your excuses don't have to stop you from doing those things. So I think that's a big one. I think I go back to this. It takes a village. I've said this many times. I don't believe without my village, without the people that were supporting me. You messaged me, without the people supporting me, I don't know I could have done this.
Yeah, you could have.
Right? You're probably right. but I think that why would I? Right? I think that.
Well, why did you do it in the first place?
To challenge myself and to, just to put myself out there and to know that I was going to suffer, and to be able to find the happiness in the suffering, and to find the happiness in that 1 a.m. leg, to find the happiness there, right? And it's the year that I set out, and I did find the happiness in all of those moments. So that's ultimately why I did it, and I'm sure there's absolutely part of my ego in there too. But I think it takes a village. I think having people that care about you, support you in doing stupid shit, right? I think that's really with anything in life, right? you want to start a business, you want to, right? Like it's so much harder to go at it alone. Having my friends there, right? Like we were a huge support team for each other, right? It was so much better having my people there, and right, like, dividing and conquering on breakfast and ice baths and doing this, that, and the other. So I think that you're right, right? Like I absolutely could do it alone. I absolutely would have done it, but I think that we don't need to do it alone, right? Right? Like, yeah, you're doing it alone, but you don't have to be, right? I don't know if that makes sense. Like I'm the only one who can walk that. I did it alone, but I also had people around me. I had people physically there. I had people, texting and questioning, how's it going? So I think that is really helpful.
Yeah.
And then what was the last thing I was going to say? I don't remember. I'll probably remember. But like those two things are like, you can do hard things and it takes a village.
Yeah.
And yeah, one thing I didn't mention is Megan, his wife who joined us, set on our first leg, she was like, oh, we should set an intention for every leg. And we were all like, yeah, we like that.
Cool.
And so we ended up setting an intention. And I haven't written about it yet, but I actually wrote down my intentions. And what's interesting is like the things that you set as your intention, like based on how you're feeling. And so my first leg was determined. Second was joyful. Third was appreciative. Fourth was happy. It was funny. That was the 9 a.m. leg, and I was blasting Pharrell Williams Happy on my phone. 1 p.m. was comfort. Leg 6 was safety. I was in a bad neighborhood walking by myself. So I was like, safety. That's a good one. 9 p.m. was embrace the suffer, find the happiness. Leg 8 was thrive. The 5 a.m. leg was invigorated. 9 a.m. proud. Leg 11 was reflective, and then leg 12 was accomplished. And that was really cool, like, because we got to talk about how and why we felt the way we did about our intentions.
Yeah.
And you got to see how it changed. Like my buddies intent for like 2 or 3 of the legs was finish. And yeah, 1 a.m. you're just like finish.
Yeah.
And so you get that. And that was cool. So yeah, so I wouldn't say it changed me in the sense that I now did it, something I've never done before.
Yeah.
And recovery, you bring up another good point, recovery on the back end.
Yeah.
I slept probably 12 or 13 hours, I think.
Yeah.
That night. And the next day I felt like crap. I was still hobbling, walking, my hips still hurt. But really after that day I slept again, right, the next day pretty well. After that, like my hips were doing pretty good. My knee is still jacked up. My right knee is still jacked.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure I have like a patellar strain or something. But other than that, like I'm feeling pretty good. And then I went right into a week of jiu-jitsu camp.
Oh wow, nice.
Yeah, which was really interesting.
Yeah.
And that my buddy, he's one of the jiu-jitsu instructors at the camp, and that's why he was like, you shouldn't do it, because it was the weekend before jiu-jitsu camp.
Yeah.
But yeah, so I think overall I'm shocked at how quick I recovered and how quick I was able to get into jiu-jitsu, and again, minus the knee.
Yeah.
But I'm also shocked that I'm not more injured.
Yeah.
Right? 54 miles with 45 pounds on my back. Like, I'm surprised that my knee's the only thing that's bothering me still.
Well, that's not good. Because you should. I mean, I only say, so it brings to mind, and I'm not talking about you in this situation, but this is more of like other people in my life who, and it's funny because it's men. It's all the experience I've had are with males. Is I'm just fascinated what it is, like why you might have insight. But then this is like more like this is running based, and it's like they're like, oh yeah, like I'm gonna go do this big thing, right? And then they don't train for it, and then they still do it, right? But then I started to realize, and this was, you know, it's like there's this excitement, but then there's not the commitment leading up to it, but they'll still like tough it through, and mental toughness is there, and like they're fit enough to be able to do it. And I'll just like say like off the couch a 30-mile run or something, right?
That's crazy.
I started to think like I'm less impressed by that. Like someone who's like, oh, I'm going to off the couch 30 miles.
Yeah.
I'm more impressed by someone who can like commit their time to train for something like that. And like, I don't know. It's even like I look at my run this summer, and I had some periods of where my training fell off, and I could have like trained a lot better, you know? And I recovered pretty solid from it and all that. But I had a friend who wanted to run it, and I was like, you're not training. Like maybe you could do it, but like,
but why?
But don't, and also like, this is now my objective. Like don't, like selfishly, don't blow it for me. Like
don't ruin it.
Yeah. And, but it's just, I guess I am impressed by you. And I think your recovery is a testament to the work you've put in before.
Agreed.
Right. And so like weightlifting, all of that stuff is contributed to it. But I think I see these people who want to do this big, cool thing, and they'll get through it, and they'll suffer through it, and maybe have some injuries after. And I was like, for what? Like it is much harder to dedicate like 6 months of your life to do this objective than it is to like wake up on the day and say like, oh, I want to go do this, you know?
Agreed.
And it's just something I reflect a lot, because I have, again, some people in my life who are really stoked on doing some run objectives. And then I'm like, you're not training. And like, sure, you can do it. But like, I want to see you putting in the time and the commitment leading up to it. Like that's gonna leave. And then I'd rather see that, and then maybe you don't end up doing it, then, you know, I don't know how to really describe it, but the hardest part is like giving up parts of your life leading up to that big objective.
Absolutely. And I think I know the answer, right? And why it's more men than women. And I think it's the same reason why men die sooner than women. It's just because men are stupid. That's a joke. Relax. Jesus. I do think, right, men are fueled by testosterone, right? And our egos get in the way. And I think it's a problem of, yes, I think testosterone's part of it. Right? That is what hormones do, right? But I also think that our society is problematic in men wanting to be manly, right? So I don't know that I have the answers on why it's all men, right? But I think, right, hormones are probably a big part of it. I think, right, where women are more tied to their emotional side, right, estrogen, right? And I think that, I'm not saying that women aren't doing it. I just think that women back out and like, oh, let me think about this. Let me look at this really to understand. Where men are just like, I'm just going to go do it. That's just my opinion on that. I think that, what was I going to say? Shit. See, my mental clarity still isn't fully back yet. I think that's what I was going to say. So people want to be sexy.
Yeah.
Right. They want to do the sexy things, right? They want all things sexy, but no one wants to do the work to be sexy, right? And that work sucks, right? You don't get to just be sexy, right? Like you don't get to just do the thing. You don't get to just run, right? And when I say like I'm surprised I'm not more injured, right? It's like half a joke, half not, right? Like what I did is something I've never done before.
Yeah.
Right. And I am shocked by what my body was capable of in doing it and how quickly I recovered. While I didn't specifically train for this thing exactly, I've been walking. Let's see, when was this? This was March. I'd been walking for over 90 days with a 45-pound plate on my back for 3 miles at a time. I've done all my weightlifting, all my strength training. I hunt, right, for many days of the year during hunting seasons, and right, like I'm walking up massive mountains at elevation.
Yeah.
Right. So while I didn't specifically train for this event, like I didn't say, oh, I'm going to train for this. Everything that I'm doing in my life made this again not easy, but easy, right? Relatively easy.
Would you have done it, chose to do it, had you not been doing those things?
Fuck no.
So
no
there's
way.
that.
No
That's
way.
the like, right? It's like you.
I knew I had the base. I knew that I could carry the 45-pound plate for 4 miles. I knew that, right? Like now it's just a matter of, okay, now let's add sleep deprivation into that. Let's add, right, miles over time, right? Like my buddy who was trying to talk about it, he was like, when was the last time you did all these miles? I was like, well, in the 2020 hunting season, one of my bow hunts, I think I might have talked about on this episode, was we were doing 10 miles a day for 10 days straight.
Yeah.
Right. So it's not 10 miles every 4 hours, right? But we did 100 miles in 10 days.
Yeah.
Like I know I can go the distance, right? But now let's add the weight. Let's add some other factors that maybe I'm not used to. So absolutely, I felt as prepared as I was going to be. But there's no way, like without all those other things, I would have committed to that.
Yeah. And that's, I think, and it's not this, I'll take away from saying it, it's not just men, right? I think our culture as a whole has turned into this, I just want the gold star or the results, or like you said, be able to like blast this. But there's like really a lack of commitment that I think as a whole exists in like Western culture.
Yes.
And yeah, it's just like it's something not that I struggle with, but it's like, how do we get back to people understanding like what goes into even just creating the life you want, right?
Yes. Yes. And so at the jiu-jitsu camp, in the last 2 jiu-jitsu camps I've done, I've delivered a workshop on working on your weaknesses and setting goals. And like that's why I talk about this sexy thing, right? Like everyone wants what's sexy, but what you're right, like, and you said it, right? Like you didn't say what's sexy, but you said what's sexy to you is the commitment, right? And that is what's sexy is. Like it doesn't seem like that's what's sexy at that moment, but that's like what's like. No one wants to do the grind. No one wants to do the 4.5 miles. But they want the 48 miles at the end, or the 4 miles, right? They want the 48 miles at the end, right? But you got to be proud about the journey, right? It's the 4 miles that get you to the 48. It's right, and that's what's and right. Anything in life, to your point, it's not just about this. It's anything you choose to do, right? If you want to wake up and do a 30-mile run off the couch, like sure you can do it.
It's not that cool.
Right.
I don't think it's that cool.
Right. But it's way cooler if you dedicated your time.
Yeah.
And you trained, and then you said, yeah, now watch me.
Because it's like, what are you trying to prove by doing it off the couch?
Right.
Like, I don't know. And I think and this is like totally different, but I see it with, there's like in the world of like spiritual seekers and things like that, you see, and I've been there, like people jumping from thing to thing to thing. And it's like, I'm going to do this until it works. And then, oh, well, it's not working. So let me try this other thing. And I am just love education. So but I saw when I shifted from trying to find something, like the seeking to just settling in and learning for the sake of learning and deepening that whole. And I shared this with someone the other day, the Guru Dev from the Amrit Institute. He talks about like spiritual whack-a-mole. And it's like, he's like, no, go into one of those holes and dig deeper. And that's what I think when it comes to these, and I think social media plays a big role in it, because I think it's in us. Yeah, I think there's a human tendency that can be there, but this exacerbates it because it's like a look at me,
yes,
a look at me kind of platform, right? And so we get, absolutely. I get to say I ran 30 miles. Great, cool. But who are you when like 3 months of hard work, right? You can do that in a day, great. But what happens when like you're knocked off your feet from like a terminal illness and you have to like sustain through months of really challenging experiences? I don't know.
It goes back to one of our last episodes about finding happiness and being happy.
Yeah.
Right? Like, I think people are chasing happiness, or what they believe is tied to happiness. And I think, part of the reason, right, why my year is the year of suffering and happiness is because when I voluntarily suffer, it makes, when those life events come up that are suffering, that much easier to be like, oh, I got this.
Yeah.
Right. Whereas but part of the suffering is the commitment to the process. Yeah. Like you're saying, right? It's committing to the suffering and to going through it. And good.
Because that's the thing, is like that process was like 2 days of your life, right? But like waking up and not being motivated to lift weights one day, like all those, that's the harder part, I think, because it's a lot easier to just say, well, I'm not going to do it today, and then get back the next day and do it. But to have the consistency, the discipline daily to commit yourself to something is far, far more challenging than just like sucking it up for a blink of an eye in your lifetime.
And that goes back to my point of that half a mile.
Yeah.
That's why I believe that's why we have so much depression, we have so much anxiety, we have so many mental health issues and so many other issues in our world, is because people aren't doing the small, consistent actions. And then you're right, they go to social media and they see this guy who ran 30 miles, but they didn't see all of the effort that got put into that. Right? They didn't see everything that went into the daily, the half a mile. They didn't see, everyone just sees that I did 54 miles.
Yeah.
Everyone just sees that I went 6 miles beyond this 48. But no one, right? Like no one wants to acknowledge it was just half a mile.
Yeah.
Right? And that's exactly what you're saying, right? In your, right? You just got to do half a mile a day. You just got to lift the weights today. You just got to do the thing that isn't sexy today, or doesn't seem sexy, right? And it's these small, consistent actions over and over and over and over that then when it comes time to do this thing, right? Like when I was training for an Ironman, I never actually ran the Ironman, but when I was training for it, the
you just swim and biked it?
Joke. No, I didn't. I didn't do any of it. I did an Olympic distance triathlon. Was the most I ever got to. Then I realized I didn't like running, and like, why am I going to keep doing this? Right? Like, it's cool to do things, but also like it's cool to not do things. Right? Like I had friends that were doing it, and like that was like cool, like having that community.
Yeah.
But it's also like, I don't enjoy this. Why am I still doing this? And so, the joke was the Ironman is the victory lap.
Mm-hmm.
Because you're already doing it. You're right. Like, you don't get to just, right. You've already done all the components of it. You just get to go out there and do the victory lap.
Mm-hmm.
And I talk about something similar in my workshop is you have to pay the full price for whatever it is you want. Some people, right, there's the exception, right? I believe that's what we're talking about. There's the people that like, maybe pay 60%, maybe 30% of the price and get the thing. But most people don't get the thing because they're not paying the full price. You have to pay 100% of the full price or sometimes even more, 120, 130% of the price to get the thing that you want.
And sometimes you don't get it.
Yeah. Even after paying, right?
So then it all comes back to why. Mm-hmm. And that's important. And so if you're destroyed because you didn't get it, the why is something to look at, I think.
Yeah, agreed. Yeah, absolutely agree.
But yeah, I don't know. I thought of something and I forgot, but
I mean, it was an awesome experience. I don't know that I'll do it again.
Mm-hmm.
I did it. I feel good about it.
Yeah.
It was hard.
I feel similar about a lot of things. Like, it's kind of like, well, I want to try a new challenge, or,
right.
It can take a different shape, and yeah, I don't know.
And that's the thing, like, instead of looking for the meaning of life, like, I believe it's the opposite, right? Like, life is asking us what the meaning of life is. And it's your job to answer it. And the only way to answer it is to go do things.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Quit trying to figure out what the meaning of life is and go try to provide life the answer. What is, right? Here's the meaning.
Mm-hmm.
And maybe you'll start training for an Ironman and realize you just hate running. And so you just don't do it. But you don't know that until you start training for an Ironman.
Mm-hmm. And then also maybe questioning, why don't you like running?
Right.
Before giving up on it, being like,
right. Yes. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I ran a lot before saying I don't like this. Right? Like, I did. I shared this story this last week. I did an Olympic distance triathlon. I came in second place for my age group.
Yeah,
it was awesome. I got a medal and everything. There was only 2 people in my age group, but they still gave me the medal for it. I think I was like 3rd from last out of the whole thing.
I always tell people, if you don't like running, try trail running.
Yeah.
You're basically hiking uphill and running downhill and running
that
flat.
Would probably totally be more enjoyable.
I don't enjoy like road running at all.
Mm-hmm.
But
yeah,
I'll do it if I have to. Mm-hmm. But yeah, I'm also don't need you to like running. I don't care.
Right. For me, it's like, if I'm going to be on the trail, like, I'd rather be hiking. Like, I'd rather be, some weight on my back, and I feel like I just enjoy that more.
Yeah.
Right? Just that slower pace.
I just like that I can cover so much more ground.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I get to see more.
Yeah.
In that way.
Yep.
Because you're also, when you're going, it's not like, I'm not going fast enough where the scenery is like zipping right by me.
Like on a bike. when you're on a bike, it does zip by you.
Yeah. So
maybe not necessarily a mountain bike, but
yeah,
you're also paying. But like, when I was again training for the Ironman, a lot of the time your head is down. You're on that bike. Your head is down. You're looking at the line on the road.
Yeah.
Right? Am I still on the side of the road? Yes. Good. And right, and you're just pedaling. You're just pedaling away, trying to maintain that pace, that RPM, right? Like,
well, I'm not a metric. Like, maybe that's why I don't like road running. Like, metric stuff, I'm just like, let me feel it.
Yeah.
Let
And
me.
honestly, that was probably what turned me off. Like, I mean, I
Yeah.
love the metrics, but it's also probably what turned me off because it was just like, ugh, like maintain this 86 revolutions per minute,
Yeah.
right? Head down, just watch the yellow line.
Oh, no,
Like
I
you're
want to
just like,
see what's around
right,
me. I want to be
yeah,
with that. I want to be with what I'm feeling. I want to
yeah,
be like, and that's, I think, that like breath, like my breath is my, I don't,
hmm
RPMs, like if I like, and I guess in my, what I do, like I think a lot about staying aerobic versus moving into anaerobic, right? So
hmm
it's just being really in touch with my breath, my heart rate.
yeah,
Um, and that guides me is like, okay, you should walk now. Or if I know that it's going to be flat and I can like maybe spike it a little bit and it'll come back down. But
hmm
just like, how can I keep moving is, and that's a connection to my body, to myself.
hmm
But which is,
and that's
oh, go ahead.
no, that's the thing. So many people are connected to their watch. That's why I stopped wearing a Garmin
Yeah.
because like I was so in the data.
Yeah.
Like, oh, like I'd be looking at my vertical, I forget what it's called, how much your
Elevate the vert.
it was no, not like elevation gain, but
Oh,
like when you're running,
yeah.
I forget what it's called. It's like a metric of like
Cadence or something, or
it's like yeah, it's like cadence, but yeah, I forget what it's called. It's like how much your body, how much energy you're essentially wasting by going up and down too much.
oh, whoa.
Or like yeah, like how much time you're spending on your left foot versus your right foot,
Oh, okay.
right? Like all sorts of things.
Yeah, which you
like,
can only measure like road, right? Like
right,
a flat like consistent
right,
surface.
right.
Whereas like you try to
And
measure on a trail, you're doomed.
yeah, but yeah, like you just get into the weeds of it. And you're like, what? And I remember like stopping wearing my Garmin, and it was sort of freeing.
Yeah.
And so I'm just gonna do whatever I want to do without tracking it, without
Yeah.
worrying about how fast I'm going or this metric or that metric. Like I'm just gonna go do it.
Yeah. Well, it's funny. I'm thinking circling back to the Whoop strap.
Uh-huh.
I'm thinking I'll probably do a Garmin, but I don't want to have my like pace like when I'm running, but it's more of just I do track my mileage, and I
Yeah.
like the idea of not having to take my phone when I
Yeah.
run and have like the GPS tracking so I can see my routes and makes it easier to like go for another run, but of like a certain distance or whatever. But the Whoop, and this I think I talked about like way at the beginning when we both were on the Whoop train,
Uh-huh.
it is not conducive for my lifestyle, I've realized,
Uh-huh.
for like a handful of reasons. One, you have to upload it every 3 days or else you lose all that data.
Yep.
So hunting season, I was out of reception for over a week. And so I had actually halfway through, I just took it off because I'm like, this is dumb. It's not going to upload anything, right? And I think about other times, like I didn't have the Whoop strap, but when I did the John Muir Trail, I was out of reception for 2 weeks.
Yeah.
And so
when you did the thoroughfare, that was only
a
2 days? A day? Okay.
Yeah, it was 16 and a half hours.
Okay.
So, so the stuff that would be interesting to see my metrics for, a lot of times I can't even, I wouldn't necessarily be able to get them. The second part is they say your recovery is based on HRV, resting heart rate, and sleep. I don't believe they're really being a meditator, being someone who meditates, right? I will have low recoveries the day after a low strain because my HRV, so HRV, they say they link it directly to the sympathetic nervous system. Their rationale, like if you take what they consider a low recovery, So HRV, higher means your autonomic nervous system is working, going between sympathetic, parasympathetic, right? So there's variability. So they say higher means it's functioning, but they automatically classify anything lower as you're in a sympathetic state. And so lower is bad. They have said on a podcast that when you go into parasympathetic saturation, it is a lower HRV, right? Because now I don't have variability because I'm in this calm parasympathetic state. So I think the missing link there is considering the day before strain and really heightening the emphasis on resting heart rate. So listen to this. Monday, I woke up I was in the red. Okay.
Okay.
I got 8 hours of sleep. I got 2 hours of deep sleep, 3 hours of REM sleep.
Sounds like a great night of sleep.
My resting heart rate was 41 beats per minute.
Awesome.
Which is where I tend to fall. If I'm at sea level, I'll be below 40 beats per minute. So it's my normal. My HRV was lower than normal. It was under 100.
Okay.
And they gave me a red recovery.
That's weird.
And it said your HRV is much lower than normal. The day before, I had a 13-day strain, which is not, I mean, I typically range in a 16 to 20-day strain.
Yep.
So it was like very much a recovery day. And I was like, this is BS. Like this, and I know I can take the metrics myself.
Yeah.
But then it's like, why do I have this watch? Then
why am I paying you?
Yeah, to give me this. And so I'm like, I need to switch to something that serves me where I can and that's where at some point I'll switch to Garmin. The one thing I do like about Whoop that they added in for females is they kind of give you insight into your cycle. Okay. And so where your strain tolerance is lower and higher and where your sleep efficiency is lower and higher. And I like that, but I also train based on my lifestyle in terms of today I can run 4 hours.
Right.
You know, regardless of what my recovery is, I'm going to have to go for a run on this day because I don't have work obligations or what it might be. But I was noticing this was happening a lot. I didn't feel the recoveries were accurate and it just started to bother me. And maybe my work is just letting it be and not being bothered by it. But I'm also what's the point of wearing this thing on my body all the time if I know myself better. And that's ultimately what it was. I mean, you said it when you went off of it. You're like, I got all the information I needed to know.
Yeah.
But I do like seeing the breakdown of my sleep cycles. I think that part is cool. But
and Garmin's can give you that.
Yeah.
Right. And and what you said I love that they added the woman thing because hormones, right? This goes back to my point earlier. Hormones play a huge role, right? It's not just testosterone, it's all of the hormones, right? I listened to an episode of Paul Saladino's Fundamental Health podcast yesterday, and he talked a little bit about this. And if your cortisol level is too high, you're not sleeping, right? Your cortisol level is too high, that affects your performance, right? So all these metrics are great, but we're not also, right? We don't measure our cortisol levels.
Yeah.
We're not measuring, right? Taking into consideration a woman's cycle, that's fantastic, but it also doesn't, right? You are probably different than another woman and another one, right? And then a woman who's going through menopause, and you have all these other factors. And that's why I imagine being hooked up in a lab, you're getting the data from some of this, but are we getting the true data? What's going on? What is the body doing? Right? What hormones are being secreted? What are being absorbed? What's not? And I do think that just listen to your body.
Yeah.
The problem is that people are oh yeah, no, I listen to my body, but no, you don't.
Yeah.
Right. I think that's the biggest issue.
It's the quantitative. We get so quantitative, and then it's okay, that replaces what you said, listening to the body. It's well, this is what my watch says, and it's okay, but what do you say? And it's just another way to be disconnected from ourselves.
Yes.
And then
Yeah,
how, like, is it really empowering for something outside of yourself to tell you how you should be or what you should do? No, I think
Yeah.
it's probably more empowering to like be in touch with that and listen and have yourself be your guide.
Yeah. And I wonder how much of an impact it does have on you in that sense that you like get a good night's sleep, you're feeling good, and then like you pull up this app and it's like red, and you're like,
Well, I was like, this is BS. I knew right away.
you
I was
are.
like,
But how many people does it impact, right? Like it's like that self-fulfilling prophecy, right? Like of, oh, maybe I do feel like crap, or
yeah,
oh, maybe I didn't recover.
yeah,
Like, well, no, if you feel good, then you feel good. You don't need an app to tell you that
Yeah.
you're not feeling good.
I also, conspiracy theory, think that last year, I think they released an article saying that X percentage of people had poor recoveries the day after the time change.
Ah,
And it was Monday after the
and
time
that was the
change.
time change.
Yeah. And I was like, did they put
So
something in there to alter the data? Because I was like, there is no reason at all that I'm
everything you described sounds like a perfect day,
yeah. And
like
it's
perfect recovery.
all of the other stats were not like I was
Yeah.
had a chill day. Yeah. It was like so fascinating. And I'm like, yeah, well, it was the Monday after the time change. So the time change happened in the night, Saturday night. But yeah, it's just
There's something to it. Maybe.
Yeah. Oh, well, and then I think that the night before it happened, I saw the glowing green light, and I was like, should I really be having something like centering me all the time? I was like, this doesn't feel right either.
Mm-hmm.
Oh.
Yeah. It's wild.
But
I think we need to, right? Like having data is good, but also just going off of how you feel.
Yeah.
Right. But also not using it as an excuse either.
Yeah.
Right. It's a very fine line. Like,
yeah.
The 4x4x48 is a perfect example. Everything was telling me, like, it was like a Simpsons reference. It was like Homer Simpson when the nuclear reactor is like melting down.
Yeah.
And he's still like sleeping in in his office, and all he has to do is push one button, right? But like everything is going off, like red, right? Ding ding, right? The alarms are going off. Everything's going off during this 4x4x48, right? But right, for me, I knew when it was over.
Mm-hmm.
And even with the alarms going off, even though the nuclear reactor was melting down, you just got to push through some things, right? And that's like, I believe what we try to get our message across with the suffering, right? Even in your thoroughfare, in your John Muir Trail, right? Like you have to find that peace in those moments.
One thing I think is significant to highlight that maybe was like not highlighted that you said is, so you said, don't use those things like wake up not feeling great as an excuse not to do it. I think don't use it as an excuse not to do it, but maybe you adjust it, right? So I still get up and go for that run, but maybe I'm walking a little more on this run, or I'm running less miles, right? And you brought that up in terms of your friend on the third leg.
Yeah.
Right? It was like not doing wasn't an option. Right? So, but how can we adjust? And that I think is a very significant thing to really acknowledge is
Agreed.
Still do it, but does it mean, even in my morning sadhana yoga practice, like I wake up a little later one day and I'm like, well, I'm not going to skip it, but maybe I just do a little bit less. I'm still doing it. I still have the discipline. I still have the commitment. I still get the benefits of it. It's just 45 minutes instead of, whatever it would have been if I got up at 5:30, right? So
absolutely.
Giving yourself that flexibility is helpful in the commitment.
Yes.
Right?
Yeah. Giving yourself the grace to know that you're doing hard things and that you can continue to do hard things no matter what excuses show up. But they don't have to be defined exactly how you had them in that bucket, right?
Let go of how it looks and let it
Yes.
be how it is, and play to that,
Yeah.
right? Back to listening. Like you
Right.
are your guide.
Yeah. And even like we've talked about this in past episodes about like how we set our goals and like, right? It's not about going to this one spot, right? It's about just going forward and seeing where it takes you. And oh, you know what? I need to take this road now. I need to adjust. And I think that's important, is absolutely like making those adjustments. And I knew, and you know, there was the plan in my plan to drop the 45-pound pack if I needed to.
Yeah.
Right? Like I told myself, like, absolutely, that's okay.
Yeah.
So I think you just have to, yeah, like accept what is, but also don't accept what is.
Well, no, that's it, being in tune with who is that's telling you to quit,
Yeah.
right? So accept what is, like don't have resistance to what is, but acknowledge where it's coming from. What's the drive? Like what is the motivator or the drive behind it for both sides, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
It's just awareness.
Yeah. And awareness and mindfulness.
Are those different?
No, they're probably the same.
They could be. I'm not.
Yeah. But,
I actually haven't thought about that question. I just asked it.
Yeah, like being mindful, like being in the moment.
Yeah.
Right? Appreciating what you have in the moment. Being aware. I guess
conscious.
They're probably similar.
Just conscious.
Yeah.
Conscious action. I guess awareness leads to mindfulness, I would say.
Yes.
Or mindfulness is an umbrella that awareness is under.
Encompasses, yeah.
All right.
All righty. It's been great chatting with you.
It's great. Breath and journal.
Yeah, let's do it.
So people can't
journal
cut
first.
Their breath. No, people are just going to turn it off. Do breath first.
All right, let's do it. I'm excited.
Unless people don't do the journal either. It'll be short and quick, right?
Do the journal, do the breath, people. Come on.
All right, so finding either a comfortable position that you're sitting in or relaxing the body if you're being active, closing the eyes or soft gaze. And just notice how you're feeling in this moment. Notice if there are comments or a narrative around how you're feeling. And then with your next natural exhale, allow those comments, interpretations or judgments or stories to take a step back. Use the exhale to begin releasing all that the mind has to say around how you're feeling. And then start to observe just the sensations in the body. Notice if there are pulsations or tingling. If there's an area of the body that feels constricted or tense. Areas that feel relaxed or soft. And then observe your breath within your body. If a comment around it arises, just watch it and let it go. Observe the breath as it is, fast or slow, deep or shallow. And expand awareness to your breath and the entirety of your body at the same time. Feel what is present, just the way it is, not needing it to be different. One more inhale and exhale. And you can slowly flutter your eyes open.
Thanks, Bree. So, journal prompts. Grab your journals. Write about that lovely breath that we just did. Write about some of those thoughts that might have come up, those comments about the breath. Right? I love what Bree says in that one specifically about just right, like let them come, let them go, like they're there. You don't have to act on them. And I share this in my yoga class often, is that right, we have thoughts, and so often we just act based on those thoughts, and we don't have to, which is really powerful when you realize that you don't have to act on your thoughts. I'm not going to go into that, but yeah, thank you for that. But write about that. Write about something hard that you've done. Write about if you started the 4x4x48 and you didn't finish it, or if you started something else. Write about like why you do some of the hard things. I think that was a big thing that came up in this episode, is like, what's the reason that you're doing the hard things? Is it ego driven? Is it to, keep up with the Joneses? Is it because of like your friends are doing it and you want to be part of that? And just be real with yourself. Sometimes in our journals, that's what we get to write about, is the things that no one needs to read, no one needs to hear about, see about, but you, right? You're still thinking them in your mind. Get them on paper and really question, is that what you want in life? I had a yoga student who she was like, I hate yoga. I was like, well, why are you doing it? Right? Like, if you really don't like something, why are you doing it? There's definitely something in doing something like Brie and I talked about. See if you can do it, but to keep doing it, to make it a part of your life. Right? Why do you want that in your life if you're not enjoying it? Right? We only have so many hours on this earth. Make sure you're doing the things that you enjoy. If you haven't read David Goggins' book, Can't Hurt Me, I highly recommend it. If you don't know who David Goggins is, definitely read the book. Great story. I think we've talked about it on podcasts before. And then write about that. Write about what he talks about, what he's been through, some of your hardships, some of your excuses of why you don't do things. And again, I'm not saying your excuses aren't valid, but get past them. And with that, I believe that's it. Unless you have anything to add to that.
Yeah. Till next time.
Absolutely. See you, Brie.
See ya.